us saved. So what differentiates us from other like-minded groups? That is one of the big questions that's I've had a hard time coalescing in my mind, which is why we're having this meeting, because that really helps. I've been making a list on that specific question in particular, because I think what I jump to is I jump to like the business mindset of if we've got a new product, how are we going to differentiate it from the other products that are perceived top of mind to be like it out there? And so you've got this great, transportation, I forgot what it's called, council that's studying transportation options. You've obviously got a lot of these groups out there. You've got the chamber, any organization like that where a lot of different groups come together that's tackling issues like this. So to me, the big question mark was, what's the product we're selling? What is that? And so I think we've got conceptually a lot of the answers here. It's just a matter of what tangible form does that take? And how do we communicate that, I guess is what I still struggle with. So in that sense, one of the things we talked about when we all met in December was having this standards group. So I think, and I heard the term think tank, I can't remember who said that. So I love that concept. I think that's something that's different, and it gives us a voice to speak on different subjects. Let's see, where do I go from that? So I'll move on to question 2. What's the vision? So that's a really, really related question to number 1. What's the vision for this? So I just started writing down words that came to my head. So I've got the word council that jumped in my head, facilitator. I think what we did with the design shop, the rest of Nashville needs to experience. Especially the leaders of Nashville need to experience. So one thing I've talked to these guys about and asked, do you have even the capacity to do this, is if we form subcommittees, which I like that idea too, can we have each of these subcommittees, expand the group, get deeper with experts, and have many design shops on specific topics to, 1, engage other people, engage the experts, but 2, enhance the conversation and inject innovators, people who aren't in that field, who can think a little differently about that subject, and inject them into the conversation as well. So facilitator was the big term, because going back to number 1, I don't know of another group that's doing that. I don't know of another group that's purpose is to be a cross-functional think tank that organizes really well done strategic planning sessions, so to speak, on specific topics that bridge the gaps. I see that's a unique thing that I can see. A unique product, so to speak. Advocacy, that's pretty clear. Innovation, that's the big one that I talked about a lot in December, but I'm on a chamber committee called Prosperity Leaders, and through that committee I hear about a lot of different other groups that are meeting on transportation, education, and all these topics we're talking about. And the answer always defaults back to the government funding. It always defaults back to raising taxes or whatever we need to do to do that. But I still see such a huge opportunity for us to tackle subjects without talking about taxes. Not to say we don't talk about taxes, but there's an opportunity to have a voice outside of that specific funding mechanism. Launchers, so that's back to the pilot thing. I can see us, these think tanks, these mini think tanks, picking projects that we pilot, for lack of a better word. I mean, I think that's a perfect word for it. And then finally, engagement. That's something else that's on everybody's list too. Engaging a wider group in this larger, broader conversation. So action steps, concrete steps, initiate better conversations. I mentioned that with these design shops. Raise the volume. So the volume's already gotten raised. To Carter's point, it seems like since we met in December, all of a sudden, transportation and affordable housing have surpassed education and public safety as the big topics du jour. So I think that's one thing we can do is help raise the volume on these. And I think a term like inclusive urbanization is a nice brandable term that everyone in the city can get behind. I can see every candidate for every office get behind it. So we can help raise the volume with that. Create a presentation, so it's kind of related. I think to raise the volume, we've got to have some visionary presentation that we can present to a lot of different people in different contexts that inspires people. I think we need some notion of action steps where we go from now in that presentation, but the big thing is articulating these two things. Quick wins, that goes back to the pilot concept. I think we need a few quick wins to help tie that larger vision, that branded concept, to action on the ground, so to speak, again. And then finally, partner. I have a full-time job. I think everybody else in here probably has a full-time job. So at some point, we're going to have to have somebody focused on this that's kind of a part of their job. Even if it's not their whole job, it's a part of it. Fortunately, the Leadership Lodge has volunteered their assistance with that, but they're going to need funding too. So this is not, part of the big funding plan that they've got in place right now. So, so who do we partner with? That's that last question. I've got, a lot of you have said it's great. Issues groups, so specific issues groups, and then chambers. And I don't mean just the Nashville Area Chamber by that, although I do think once this materializes the right way, I think the chamber will want to play a part in this, a big part. But by chambers, I mean any group of various people who get together to have a collective voice. And so there's lots of examples of that. So I think we'll need to, it's almost like action steps here, create the presentation, raise the volume, initiate the conversations with these issues groups, and it's all really related. And it sounds like we coalesced, at least in our minds, a lot on what it looks like. So yeah, that's my favorite.